in the masjid, in the mosque, the Quran, you are among the very best. Also, those who know things more than the others. What happens if you are a certified teacher in English and you give those in your neighborhood 2 hours or 3 hours a week to teach them to develop their...
But is that considered leisure time then?
It is, because it's something you're doing for Allah Azza wa Jalla. It's leisure. No, it's not work. You're working in the morning at schools, but in the afternoon, it's your time. So whatever you do for the community, it's your leisure time, and you're utilizing it to get the reward from Allah Azza wa Jalla. Instead of wasting 4 or 5 hours in front of a TV screen watching things that harm you on the Day of Judgment. Watching movies is also something that you may spend in leisure time, but is it permissible or not? Now, how can we evaluate this? A person that spends 4 hours a day watching movies, and a person who is spending 4 hours a day teaching others Quran, Sunnah, mathematics, geography, whatever. Of course, the one who adds value to the community is far greater than the other one.
Sammy?
What about going to resorts with families, men and women, youth?
Mixing men, women,
Yes,
strangers?
Yes, as we see.
No,
today.
this is not acceptable. If you
What about taking your family and your brother's family?
Brothers.
If you go with your family to a resort where there is no sin appearing in front of everybody, if you go to a beach resort and everybody is in their bikinis and you say Subhanallah, Alhamdulillah, Allahu Akbar, this is a great sin. This is not acceptable. But if you go to a resort that you are in your cabin with your family, you have the wilderness, you have a jungle, you have forest, you have the deserts, you have different ways of entertaining yourself without exposing yourself to something that is forbidden, and without exposing your family to something that is forbidden, this is completely permissible. And we all do this. We, as families, we all entertain our families once a year in our vacation. We go either to a mountain resort, or we go to Mecca, we go to Medina for prayer in the masjid, or we go off-roading. And this is permissible. There is nothing wrong in that. But it's not an obsession in the sense that you're spending 11 months traveling and moving from one resort to the other. No, it's something that can entertain your family within the boundaries of Islam.
Providing in Muslim countries or abroad?
No, we talked about this before. We said that going to non-Muslim countries has its shortcomings. And it is not preferable, if not forbidden, for a Muslim to go to non-Muslim countries. Because there are conditions that we've mentioned before, that to go to a non-Muslim country, you have to have 3 conditions. 1, you have to have a degree of knowledge that prevents you from accepting any doubts. And you have to have a degree of piety and faith in order to deter you from pursuing your lusts and desires. Thirdly, you have to have a legitimate reason, such as trading, learning, medication, that is, for you to go there. But to go just for the sake of going, alhamdulillah, Muslim countries have everything that the West or the non-Muslims have, except the fornication, the booze, and so on.
What does Shaykh Asim do in his free time?
It was my question.
Whoa.
Very important.
God, I'm under attack now, huh? Well, I do a lot of things in my free time. I'm an aggressive sportsman. I play squash, table tennis. I do weightlifting. Bodybuilding, that is not weightlifting. I sometimes play volleyball. I have championships in squash, table tennis.
Okay.
Whenever there's extra time, I do some 8-ball billiards. I try my best to stay most of the time with my kids, though I do not do them justice. because I have so many other things to do besides my work, lectures, and sports. But I try to, I don't socialize a lot. I don't go out. I stay the remaining time with my family.
No PlayStation?
I hate computer games.
Why?
I don't know. I don't like computer games. I don't like soccer. I think.
Do your children hate computer games?
You know, some of them do, some of them don't, and they play. I don't prevent them from playing, except, of course, they play with the volume down, and providing that there are no programs that involve women and.
But what about women and things that are not?
They don't play.
What about games, for example? I mean, PlayStation is something that's very, very common these days. What about games that, like a football game? I mean, there are images of football players running around playing football. I mean, is that something that's not permissible? I mean,
no, this is okay because they did the wrong, not us. And it's like watching cartoons. So watching cartoons is the same thing. We did not pay for that. We did not draw it. They did it. It is okay, especially nowadays with the exposure to the media. This is the least of your worries, to have these images with your children. But you have to give them an alternative to look for. Without any substitute, you don't have anything to give them to substitute what they have. So cartoons, PlayStation, even with these images, as long as they're not forbidden images in the sense of sex, violence, and gods, for example. There are games that involve getting the people from the dead. And you have the powers to resurrect people, for example.
But it's just games. I think
And
just games, not...
Well, the thing is that this game, although it's a game, does Allah approve of it or not? Does it please Allah or not? There are games that involve crosses all the way. Games that involve demons that get the people from the graves and resurrect them. If you approve of this, and you, although it's a game, it's a joke, then is it okay to joke about Allah? It's a joke. Is it okay to joke about the Prophet ﷺ?
No.
So again, you have to draw the line between things that are allowed and things that are not allowed. Is it my intellect and logic that tells me, yes, it's possible, or no, it's not possible? Or is it the Quran and Sunnah? Allah Azza wa Jal in the Holy Quran tells us and warns us that it has been revealed to you before that if you see people mocking or ridiculing the verses of Allah Azza wa Jal, be aware, do not sit with them until they talk about something else. Otherwise, you are like them. And Allah Azza wa Jal will bring the non-Muslims, the hypocrites, all together and throw them in hell. You did not approve of that. But sitting with people that ridiculed or made fun of Islam made you part of it. And if you play with a game that ridicules Islam or talks about crosses or demons or talks about Allah Azza wa Jal, then though it's a game, you are part of it.
Sheikh, what about equipping with non-Muslim knowledge or sciences?
Anything that you do to spend your leisure time, if it adds value to you on the Day of Judgment, which means that you are performing a number of worship, then this is acceptable. If it adds value to you on this life, in this world, such as learning how carpentry, learning plumbing, learning car mechanic, then this is again something acceptable and permissible. If you learn something that does not add any value at all, such as magic, on the contrary, it may harm you more than do you well or good, then this is not acceptable. Spending your leisure time in acquiring knowledge about geographical places, about the history of nations, this is something useful for you because it adds value to you. It adds to your knowledge about other people and cultures. Spending your time reading about history, reading about politics, reading in economy, studying geography, studying geology,